So we can all agree that some of the best music ever made is songs by fictitious bands or singers that were made for movies, right? Like Black Sheep in Scott Pilgrim, or Scotty Doesn't Know from Eurotrip, or Hero from that one DCOM that came out in 2010. And I am being 100% serious. That song gets stuck in my head at least once a month. And it's something that has stuck with me now for about 15 years. So this DCOM that seems to have been completely forgotten by the average person is latched onto me like a parasite stuck in my ear that just starts randomly singing every few weeks. And the other day I was scrolling through Disney Plus and I saw this cover. So naturally I was inclined to rewatch this movie at 2 a.m. for some reason. But after I rewatched this movie, I was convinced that the writers just were trying to capitalize off of the It Boys of the time and went to Wattpad and read the first Harry Styles fanfic they came across and just based the movie on that. But here's the rub. One Direction wasn't even formed until after this movie came out. So I'm like, oh, maybe it was fanfiction about Justin Bieber that inspired them. His debut album also came out after this movie. And I'm not saying I think fanfiction wasn't a thing before One Direction or Justin Bieber, but when it comes to this movie in particular, I feel like it's a real chicken or the egg situation. Because once we get into the movie, you will notice this girl is so YN coded. If you don't know what YN means, it stands for your name. So basically, if you're reading a fanfiction and you read YN, you're supposed to be inserting yourself into the story. And basically, usually the YN girl is the not like other girls archetype.
Pumpkin spice latte, please. I want it freezing, though. Actually, I just want a regular coffee. Those white girl pumpkin spice lattes annoy me. I'm in love. Name?
But I'm not super sure of where the YN archetype started. So like, was she the blueprint for all the girls that were writing about being at One Direction concerts and like reading a book in the crowd with their messy bun and glasses? I can't really tell. Is this your queen? Well, without further ado, let's jump into the movie Starstruck. We open the movie with one of our main characters, Christopher Wilde, performing at the Staples Center with a pretty underwhelming crowd. Woo. Woo. But not an underwhelming song. And Sterling Knight lip syncs very well. And then we are introduced to the other main character's sister, Sarah. Sarah is sitting and watching this performance of Christopher Wilde on her TV in Michigan.
I just love Christopher Wilde.
And the main character just silently floats in front of the TV.
Jessica!
No spatial awareness at all. And in this scene, you learn pretty much all you need to know about these characters. Sarah's supposed to be like the crazy stalker fangirl archetype.
I know everything about him.
And Jessica is different and unimpressed by Christopher Wilde.
He is such an amazing person.
He's definitely not amazing.
But basically, the girl's family is going on a trip to California to visit their grandmother. But Sarah has different plans. Sarah's whole motivation in California is just to meet Christopher Wilde.
You can play shuffleboard with Grandma, but I'm going to meet Christopher Wilde.
Well, we've mapped out his every move for the past 18 months.
So she just plans on stalking his every move instead of like spending time with her elderly family member. And now we cut back to Christopher, where we meet his best friend Stubby and his girlfriend Alexis, and they're outside of some sort of teen club, which apparently is a thing in real life. I do think the name of the club is very funny. It's like as if the writers were like, how do we make sure the viewer knows that they're not in an adult club that they can like party and drink at? But let's make it subtle. What should we call it? Perfect. Honestly, neither Stubby or Alexis have much effect on the story, and Christopher doesn't even like Alexis.
Where are the paparazzi?
Oh, you did not vlog again, did you?
There he is.
And she also barely shows up in the movie, so I'm not even sure why they even wrote her in. If I had to guess, I think the producers were just trying to throw in more faces that we may recognize from other shows to get the kids excited. We also meet Christopher's parents, who are also both his managers.
He's late.
Oh, he'll be here.
You need to manage him better.
Hello. We both manage him.
So they do like the always working parent ×2 here. And they're trying to get Christopher this big movie deal with some big producer. And right before the meeting, the dad says this to Christopher.
This is it, bud. Your chance at what we've always wanted.
And I don't really understand like what he means. Is he saying their dream was always for their son to be a movie star? So they had him make music? Like, put your kid in an acting class maybe if that's what you want. Was the grand plan to be able to break onto the big screen as a serious actor by being a teeny bopper pop star first? Because I hate to break it to you guys, that doesn't really happen very often, and when it does, it doesn't always go well.
I gave this to you! I gave you all of this, Alice!
It's just so funny to be like, all right, son, we finally have a chance for you to make something of yourself. Don't fuck this up. But Dad, what about all my Grammys and triple platinum records? I don't care about that. You are nothing until you are in a Marvel movie.
Because I like you for this movie. But my people don't necessarily agree with me. See, all they see is a spoiled punk who likes to tangle with the paparazzi.
The producer basically tells Christopher that if he wants a movie deal, he has to stay out of the press completely.
On Monday, I'm gonna meet with my people, try and sell them on you. In the meantime, you keep your face out of the tabloids. No press, good or bad.
And this is going to be the driving motivation for most of Christopher's actions for the rest of the movie. Meanwhile, at their grandma's, Sarah convinces Jessica to go stalk Christopher with her. So they take their grandma's car and they head off for the teen club that Christopher has snuck into to perform for Alexis's birthday. And I'm gonna be honest, this song doesn't really hit like the others. So Christopher does this secret performance, but the club literally plays the performance on the TVs outside, so that kind of spoils the staying out of the public eye thing, huh? Meanwhile, Jessica is looking for her sister, and she goes into an empty alley. Great place to start a search. And once Christopher finishes performing, he sneaks back out of the club, and on his way out, he hits Jessica with the door. And so this is the chosen meet-cute of this movie. After the hit, instead of maybe finding who this girl knows, he puts her in his car and decides he needs to take her to the doctor. Which does not seem like a good look. Taking a random young girl that you just hit in the head, throwing her in your car, and driving off without informing anyone that she knows where she is going. But whatever, I guess he's a pop star, and you know pop stars do what they want. Steal girls. Turns out Jessica is completely fine, no injuries. So they leave the hospital, and Jessica explicitly says she wants to go home multiple times.
I don't want to calm down. I want to go home. Just take me home.
I will!
Christopher chooses to ignore her because he is on a time crunch to get home to see the movie producer. So he opts to take Jessica to his house instead of dropping her off or calling her sister to come pick her up or getting her a taxi. You know, if Christopher wasn't the romantic lead and if this wasn't the start of a DCOM, I would be getting murder vibes. Because what do you mean we have to make a stop at your house? Take her home, weirdo. Once they get home, he stuffs her in the guest room. And here we go, baby! Best part of the movie!
Like gravity, I'll be unstoppable.
At least once a month. Unprovoked. In my head. After he's done performing, he goes to drive her home, and Jessica decides to make it known that she does not like this man. Because she's not like other girls. She's meaner.
I'm not your fan.
You don't like my music?
No, I like your music. I'm just not crazy about you.
No, seriously though, Jessica is really mean.
Okay?
Ow!
Don't get me wrong, she gives us some great, not like other girls moments.
It's called reading. You should try it sometime.
They often describe Jessica as honest in the movie, and I think a better word to describe her is rude, or off-putting, or unpleasant.
I want to say I'm sorry.
Noted. Are we done now?
Yeah, I guess we're done.
Good.
Once they get to her grandma's house, Christopher realizes the paparazzi has followed him, and he asks her to stay the night in her garage.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot.
And then the next day comes around, and Jessica finds that Christopher has left. And that's the end of the movie, guys. Thanks for watching. Just kidding. The sister wants to stalk Christopher again, and they immediately find him at the beach he frequents. You know, for someone who is trying to stay hidden, going to a place where any average fan can find you at is pretty sloppy work from Christopher. Throughout the movie, Christopher continually complains about how hard he has it because he's always being followed by paparazzi, and how Jessica just doesn't get it. She doesn't understand. Which I'm not saying is invalid, it's just a little annoying how much he brings this up.
Clearly, you don't understand. They're everywhere. No, you wouldn't understand. There are about 10 paparazzi parked outside my house. You don't know what it'll be like. The paparazzi never go away.
And of course, the paparazzi find him again. They're just like up his cheeks, dude. So Christopher needs to get out of there, and Jessica gets in the car with him for reasons unknown. She could have just easily snuck away while Christopher drove off. But oh well, plot needs to plot. And while driving, because Jessica hates everything that's ever existed besides her grandma, she tells Christopher that she doesn't like LA.
I mean, I, on the other hand, couldn't care less about you or your city.
Whoa, I know you don't like me, but don't take it out in Los Angeles. This is one of the greatest cities in the world.
And Christopher decides it's a good time in the movie for a montage. I mean, to show Jessica around LA for a day, while listening to his music.
Something about the sunshine, baby.
So they go all around LA, they take a bunch of pictures, which will be relevant later. So now they're driving along, they seem to be in the middle of nowhere, and Christopher apparently needs to wash his ass because the paparazzi can literally sniff him out no matter where he is. Since they're being followed, the duo make a quick turn onto a dirt road to lose the paparazzi. And uh-oh, they're in quicksand, because of course they are.
Let's get out and push.
So the car starts sinking pretty quickly, so they scramble to get out and end up falling in. And they get out unscathed, just covered in mud. But they completely lost their car, and they start walking, but they are seemingly in the middle of nowhere. Like, Christopher is like,
Jess,
What?
beach is that way.
while pointing at a bunch of mountains. How far are they about to walk? Beach is that way. On the walk, Christopher and Jessica continue to argue. Then they come across some water and rinse off and become pristinely clean. Like they were covered in mud. And now that's the whitest shirt I've ever seen. And while there, they talk and flirt and give googly eyes. And then they finally make it to the beach. You have to wonder how long that took them. They were in the middle of nowhere and... Oh, wait.
Me too.
It doesn't even seem like they've lost any light. Maybe they ran? On the beach, we basically get a "you're not like other girls" quote here from Christopher.
You are so different from any other girl I've ever known.
Different, weird, different, annoying.
Different, surprising. In the best way.
Classic. And the movie does the classic "they were about to kiss but got interrupted" trope. But I don't really mind that trope because it's just to build tension, you know? You get that big payoff at the end when they finally do kiss. After the interruption, Christopher basically comes back down to reality and tells Jessica she has to keep their entire day a secret.
You know what happens next, right? This ends here.
What does?
This, us. You can't tell anybody about what happened today, not even your parents.
And he takes her camera because he says she can't have all these pictures of him.
The pictures you took of us, I should probably keep them.
You want my camera?
And yeah, Christopher, if you were just gonna do that, why did you even take any pictures with her? That's kind of fucked up. You were the one putting yourself in the picture sometimes. And this is probably the second most dramatic scene of the movie. I know, it gets a little more dramatic later.
The paparazzi never go away, and once they have you in their sights, they won't quit until they get what they want. They'll ruin everything.
They don't have to. You already did.
But you know, Jessica runs off crying, and thankfully, she finds this tiny room with clear walls to finally have some privacy while she cries. And while she's in there, she's calling a cab, and Christopher is immediately seen and swarmed by fans.
Everything you wanna hear, but a hero.
And doesn't this scene just defeat the entire purpose of everything Christopher has been doing today? He doesn't even seem like he's trying to be sneaky either. He's like strolling towards where all the people are. I guess the writers just forgot that the entire story so far was being pushed forward by the fact that Christopher was trying to stay out of the public eye. They were just in the writer's room like, well, what would Christopher do now after she walks away? Well, he no longer has a phone or a car, and as of right now, he still wants the movie deal and can't be photographed. So I think maybe he would sneak into the phone booth after Jessica is done and maybe call Stubby for a ride? Wow, Jerry. What a stupid fucking pitch. He would never do that. He obviously would walk directly towards the group of people, let a mob form around him, and take a bunch of pictures. Oh, I mean, isn't the whole point he's trying to avoid being seen by any? Jerry, you're fired. Also, I don't live near a beach. Is this a common thing? Phone booths in the sand? Like that close to the water? But anyways, Jessica is making her call and Christopher is being mobbed, and they exchange like 2 glances, and the paparazzi immediately sniff out that there is a story there somehow. Christopher, wash your ass. And then we get a montage of Jessica sad and Christopher singing the song Hero again, and it ends with this clip that made me chuckle.
That was great, Chris. Take 5.
Thanks, guys. That was great. Let's take a break.
Why did they have to add the first guy telling Chris to take 5? They basically just repeated the same line twice for no good reason. Maybe the band only responds to like Christopher's demands, so the producer can be like,
That was great, Chris. Take 5.
but the band is like, God, I hope I'm allowed to stop playing. He forgot to release us at the last recording. It's been weeks, and I'm starting to forget what my wife's face looks like. Please, Christopher, please.
Thanks, guys. That was great. Let's take a break.
Thank God. We see Christopher is still very much hung up on Jessica and put all her stolen photos on his laptop. And then Alexis shows up and dumps Christopher.
Are you breaking up with me?
Again, I have no idea why they even wrote her into the movie. She really has no effect on anything. I think she was just written to have a character Chelsea Staub could play. But since the paparazzi got their story made about Jessica being a mystery girl involved with Christopher, being pushed by that movie producer, Christopher goes on TV and says he's never met Jessica. And once Jessica gets home, her house is surrounded by paparazzi and reporters. Would that actually happen? This many reporters flying out to Michigan with all that equipment? Maybe they would, and I just don't understand. So now Jessica's parents are obviously like, what the hell?
What happened out there in California?
And Jessica refuses to tell them anything.
Nothing bad, I promise. I can't talk about it, please. Please just trust me.
Which I don't really get. It's not like she signed a really intense NDA, but she won't tell them, and her parents don't really push her anymore. They're just like, oh, well, we tried. And later, Jessica's fed up. She decides she's gonna go stand up to the reporters, and we finally get the most dramatic scene of the movie.
So congratulations, you've created a celebrity. But you have wrecked the human being inside.
So Jessica has now lied and says she's never met Christopher Wilde.
The Christopher Wilde you're all so obsessed with. I promise you I never met him.
The way she started that sentence, I don't see anyone believing that. It's giving she met Christopher Wilde. And Christopher sees this and he realizes he turned his sweet angel girl.
Okay?
I just want to say I'm sorry.
Noted. Are we done now?
I'll never know I was here.
I don't know.
I think does kind of smell like fish.
No, I'm pretty sure that's you.
That saint. He turned her into a liar. So he decides to fix it. He drops the movie deal, he fires his parents, and he goes to Jessica's dance at her school in Michigan. Because of course there's a dance at the end of this movie. And while there, he sings, honestly, the most underwhelming song of the entire movie.
Can't blame you for thinking.
And he basically professes his love in front of the whole school and on national TV.
I'm crazy about her. Jessica, I'm so sorry. I know that I hurt you. Please. Forgive me.
And Jessica pretty quickly forgives him.
Go away. Now.
Okay, I'll be honest. I think Sterling Knight is kind of funny in this movie. I think he plays his character pretty well. And he made me chuckle a couple of times, which is high praise for a DCOM. Then we get another they almost kiss but they get interrupted moment. And then the movie ends with them dancing to Stubby's rapping. So they decided to use that trope twice with no payoff, no smooches. But there was good reason for no smooches, because turns out at the time of filming, the actress playing Jessica is 14, and Sterling Knight, the guy who plays Christopher Wilde, is 20. So while I'm glad they didn't kiss for obvious reasons, I really just don't like the use of the they were just about to kiss trope without any payoff at the end of them finally kissing. Just feels kind of cheap. But again, I'm glad they didn't kiss. Overall, I think this movie had a decent soundtrack and pretty good production for a low-budget DCOM. And I think Hero will probably haunt me for as long as I live. Alrighty guys, if you made it here to the end video, props to you. And make sure to go read my fanfiction I wrote on Wattpad. It's about Remy from Ratatouille falling in love with an extra curvy cavatappi noodle. This is the first time I've tried talking about a movie on my channel, and honestly, it's pretty fun, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you are still here, please like and subscribe to my channel. I do make new videos every single week. And leave me a comment letting me know if you think this movie is just glorified fanfiction, and if you think Jessica is the blueprint for the YN girl. Like, who's the chicken, who's the egg here? Also, if there's any other silly movies I could talk about, please let me know. Alrighty guys, thanks for watching. Bye!